So what we are going to cover in today's session is basically task. What are the different tasks we do have? So task and reports. So these are the two things we're going to cover. So both are related things, and we are going to use these things also more often. So that's very important thing. So please make sure you understand the task, what is task means in Sailpoint, and a report as well. Task is more important as compared to report, but reporting is also being used when we do talk about in terms of when we have to generate something from the system about the different functionality system. Okay, so we'll start with task first. So under task, so from the UI under setup, this is the section where you have to reach to the task section. So you can see here I'm here in the task section. So what is the functionality of task? Task is something which automate some functionality. So whatever things we want to execute in a sequential manner, so that piece of code we can write and then it will execute. So that's a automation of some logic, and that we can execute at some particular time. Okay, so it's like any job, right? In Microsoft also we execute some jobs everywhere. In each and every tool there's a job, right? So task is nothing but job which we do execute. So task can also be scheduled. So scheduling of the task is also possible. So we'll go each and everything one by one. Although we little bits we had touch base when we were doing the HR aggregation. During the time also we did touch base the task section for a while. Okay, so under task section, which we can see here, these are the system created task which comes by default along with the identity IQ. So all these are system related tasks. Only these two tasks are the one which we did created last time as a part of our HR aggregation. Okay, so you can see here that these are the types of the task. So these are the different kind of task types. So account aggregation is one type. Account group aggregation is also one type of task, which is not present by default. That's why we can't see the type. But if we do create any group aggregation task, we're gonna see that also as a task type. And then generic kind of task, like any new custom task we want to create, that will come under generic task. Identity kind of task. In identity task, the most important one is the refresh identity cube. We have used it once, but I'll explain about the identity refresh cube task as well. What are the important parameters? So this is something which SailPoint do provide out of the box. All the logic, all the code has been written out of the box by the team, and we just make some configuration changes and you can use it. Okay, so scoring is the one which is related to risk. So whenever we want to execute any policies, so under scoring we'll get the risk score for each and every user. So that comes under a risk scoring basically. System is something, is a category where system maintenance kind of task uh, are present here. So I'll be covering important tasks as well. What are the important tasks and how they help to maintain the system. So let's go one by one. I'll start with
One
account.
question here, Vinay.
Yeah,
This is only visible to the administrator, so normal user will not be able to create tasks. Is that correct?
uh, yeah, that's totally correct. So normal user can't create task, as well as they don't even have access to execute task as well sometimes. So it depends on the functionality. So basically end user is he is not going to see all these steps. Application also he can't create. He can't even come to intelligence. He can't even have access of setup. So he on his home page he would be having access of only this thing, manage access or track my tickets. So he can just raise user request. So he can come here and he can raise manage user access. That's it. Or he can just see his certifications things. But like you are saying, task is something he is not having access. But there is one more level. So some people do have access to execute the task. Like they can come here and they can execute the task. So those folks are like who are the BAU people, right? Who can just maintain the system. But like one level up, which is L3 team or some development team, right? So they do have access to create the task as well. So that's a three different category we use in SailPoint. And I'll just quickly, I can quickly show that as well, how we can achieve it. That's a part of capabilities, although we'll cover that in detail sometime. But if you see here, we have the user rights. So under user rights, we have these many system rights by default. Okay. So if someone do select this business role administrator, okay, so he would be having like role level administrator privileges, and same way task result viewer, right? So this person would be having only task result viewer uh, entitlements capabilities basically. So we can select multiple as well. So by default I have logged in as a system administrator, right? So I do have this level of permission, system administrator. That's why I do have all the permission right now. But whatever user we want to give the level of permission, we can give it from here.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So if you see here, so these are the different kind of tasks which we can see here. So I'll just cover the important task. Um, Before I cover the, okay, let me cover the task first. So one is the aggregation task. Like I told you, aggregation is very important process. So basically, if a target system do have users and we want to aggregate those users, so inside the Sailpoint IAQ. So that's where we do configure this job. So it will make connection to the target system, this job, and then it will pull all the records from target system to identity IQ. That's the purpose of this job. So same thing we did during our HR aggregation time when we did onboard the application. We pulled those 10 records from target system to our system, basically from the delimited file to our system. Okay, so that's where we did create this task, right? You can see here, right? So this was a task we did create and we give the application name which we want to scan. Okay, that's all we can see here. And then I'll just talk about the modification of task as well because we are already here. So editing of the task. So last, okay, let me firstly cover creation of task. From there itself we can cover it up. So if you see here new task, right? So here you can see these are different kind of category out of the box which are being provided. So any of these kind of tasks we can create from here. The most important one is account aggregation, account group aggregation, which we do use. The rest of the one we rarely use, and even I have not used because this is very rarely used. So either we use aggregation task, or if something is related to one specific functionality, that only we do use, or we do create custom task altogether. Okay, so if you see here, these are some set of tasks. One is important. This identity refresh is the one which is also important, and yep, that's it. So as system maintenance, this is another important task. So let's say this is a task account aggregation which we want to create. So we just need to give the name here, and then this is also important, previous result action. So where it's saying like when we do execute this task next time, so previous task result, whether it should delete or it should rename the old one and then create a new file for this one. I'll show you that. You will understand then just better what is the use of this. So just remember delete, rename old and rename new. These are the three options. We'll use it. I'll tell you where. Okay, so this is the important setting here, name, and this one, this is important, but these are of rarely being used. Host is something, it's little advanced topic where we want to execute this task, because here we are using local host, right? We have single server where we have installed Sailpoint, but if Sailpoint we have installed in two servers or three servers in a cluster mode, then this host we can give here and it will execute on that particular host only in that cluster mode. So email notification is something where we want to trigger any kind of email notification based on this task. if this task is successful, if this task is failure, so accordingly we can trigger the email notification. So let's say always, if you put always, so basically any kind of, whether there's error, failure or warning, so it will always trigger the email notification. Email notification template. So email template we're gonna talk about it in future, but template is something we can choose which is out of the box, and we can create our own templates as well. Email
Uh,
recipient. Yeah, go ahead.
Vinay, one thing here, like when we're executing a task,
Mhm.
like maybe like when we have a couple of users, that may be easy, but in large organizations, enterprise organizations, is there a way to see the results before sending, for example, or executing a task, like a staging uh, step before completing this task?
Could you repeat your question? Like, what does it mean, staging a task?
In the sense that before, like this is a task, let's say, to do something on the database. So
Yeah.
would it be possible, like, to have before committing this action to the database, for example, is there like a staging place where I can review the results before then saying commit and finalize it?
No, that's not possible. Like, you can review what it's going to do, and then you will just say like, yeah, proceed, and then it will do that thing, right? That's what you're saying.
Yeah,
Yeah. So that is not possible. But to achieve that thing, there is a work item. So work item can be used for that purpose, which you are saying. So
work item. Uh,
yeah.
okay,
So basically, we can create one work item, and then work item is something. But in work item, you're not going to see the complete data, but it is like it will ask for your approval. If you approve it, only then it will execute something.
okay.
But
Like
but
usually,
can you please, yeah, can you please
usually
explain me? Mhm.
Usually, like we have a development environment, staging environment, and we have production environment, like when we do development and things like this.
Right.
So the staging environment is almost exactly the same as the production. So before pushing things into the production, we want to look at how it looks in production before like committing it to the production, because there is so many will be affected with this. So I was
Right.
thinking if we have a similar thing here, like to look into the results before committing it and like sending notifications or aggregating or cleaning up whatever action we're doing.
So basically, you would be having different environments, right? If like you're saying staging
Yeah,
environment is kind of replica of production, so you can like clone the same task in your staging environment, and
yeah,
then you can run that in staging environment first and see whether it's working fine. Then you can execute the same task in production.
yeah. So this is, it seems, the only solution.
Yeah, yeah, right, right.
Thanks.
Yeah, right. But there's a workaround also, I'll tell you. So what you can do. So let's say you want to execute a task, right? I'll explain you. So you can put some logs, and based on the logs or some report, right, it will send all the data what it want to do actually, okay, over the email. We can configure it. So once it will send all the data over the email, and then we can create one work item. Okay. So firstly, work item is there, so it means you will get the notification, and you can review the complete data over the email or like the report format. And once you approve it from the work item, then rest of the part it will execute. So that is also possible, but that's a custom thing actually. It's not out of the box thing provided by
Okay.
SailPoint.
Okay. Okay. So this looks like some kind of a staging report before
Right, right.
yeah,
I think the same requirement which you're looking for.
yeah, yeah.
If you want
Different
to
name,
see, right, right.
different name,
That's
just work item. Yeah, that's fine. Okay.
yeah.
Thanks.
Work item we also gonna cover in this like subsequent sessions. So work item is also good concept, one of the concept.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so if you see here, so this is the task main attribute, then email notification, what email we want to trigger on which action. So recipient also we can give it from here. as well as the template we're going to cover later, but it's basically uh, the body content, header, subject, everything is part of email template. Application to scan we have already discussed. So these are the attributes for the task which are being provided by Sailpoint by default, and this can vary for each and every different kind of type of task. So these are the some I'll just try to see which are important. So like this one is one of the important, which is create link if and look correlated with scan. So basically it will create account only in case if there's an existing identity. So if identity cube is present in the system, only then it's going to create the account. Okay, so this way we have many parameters, but I think this is not going to make sense to you for now until you are not going to use it. So better you can go with the SailPoint documentation as well for these steps, and which would be later point of time, not now. But like you remember, right, when I did execute the aggregation task in the beginning, I didn't select any of these attributes. These are not so much important, but to understand sometime business requirement, some of the attribute might be useful at some particular time. Okay, so then we just save it. So it means our new task has been created, and if you rather than save, if you just execute, save and execute, it will save as well as execute at the same time. But you can just save it from here. Then what will happen? So you will, sorry, will come back to task and you will start seeing like this way task here. You can right click on this task and execute in background. So that's how you can execute the task as well. Okay, so this is about task, and the one which I was talking about, this one rename old, right? So I think let me go back cancel. So if I go task result, what was the task? Aggregate
Uh,
employees. We did that.
Actually,
Yeah.
very sorry, one question. So,
Yeah.
basically, what kind of actions we can achieve via task? Actually, for what purpose we are using this task?
Sorry, what kind of, basically what kind of thing we can do, right? That's what you're asking.
Yeah,
So you remember, this is Prakash, right?
yeah, that's right.
Okay, Prakash, during the time of HR aggregation, right? When we did the HR aggregation, if you remember, identity we did on board. You
Yeah,
remember?
yeah, we are onboarded. Yeah,
Okay. At that
application.
time,
Yeah,
yeah. At that time, you remember we did aggregate the user from the target system to our system.
yeah, that's right. Yeah,
So that is something we did with based on the task only, right? So this is a one task here. So any automation, any logic we want to implement, we can do it with the help of this one. And how this is useful, I'll tell you one more thing. Like one way is you come here and execute. So any new, let's say right now this file, the CSV file, right, where we were having 10
yeah,
users. So
yeah.
we did execute this task and it bring it up all the 10 users from that file to our system. But let's say tomorrow,
Okay,
rather than 10 users, we do have 11 or 12 users. So no two new entry came to that file. So once we come here and execute again, so we're gonna see those two users also. So task is the automation of some script, right? So
yeah,
this is
yeah.
one kind of situation, but I'll be covering other situations as well where we're gonna use more frequently the task.
Okay, okay.
Okay. So
Yeah,
second thing basically I was talking about, this one rename old, uh, result action, right? Rename old, delete, or rename new. So you can see here, this is the thing basically aggregate employees. This was a task. If you execute again right here, so let me show you first. Task result is the other tab where we'll see the task execution. Whatever task we're going to execute, we'll see the result here, all the tasks. So if you remember, we did execute aggregate employees. So this task we can see here. Okay. So you can see two occurrences are here for this task, right? So if I'll execute this task one more time, so it will show us three entries, 1, 2, and 3. And the latest one will come as aggregate employees, and automatically this will become as aggregate employee 1 and this will become aggregate employee 2. Okay, so it's a other way around, and the latest one will come as aggregate employee. So this is nothing but that's how we are doing with this value rename old. So rename old means it will rename the old occurrence and it will create a new file. So save and execute. So I did execute this third time. If you see here task result, you can see here, right? There are 3 entries now, aggregate employees. And the latest one is this time, current time, 9:26. And this become as 2 and this become as 1. Okay, so that's how it's keep on changing. Same way, if we rather than this, if we make it as delete, so it will delete all the occurrence and it will keep only 1 copy. So I can do that as well. So now you won't see all the 3 entries, you will see only 1 entry. Actually, it's there. Last 2 entries was there, so it will still be there, but now you will not see any more that 1, 2, 3 should have been there right now. But now it's only 2 occurrence and this is only 1. Okay, so that's all about that thing. So we talked about account aggregation, one of the type, and the other one important task is this one, identity refresh cube. Under it, identity refresh cube, so this is other task which we have used during the time of identity mapping. Let me refresh your concepts. You remember when we were doing identity mapping, so we did map the first name for from the HR employee and we were not able to see that value here. Okay, so first name, last name, it was blank coming up, right? But after making entry to in the identity mapping, still those fields were not visible inside the identity warehouse. What we did at that time, so we came here and we did execute refresh task, refresh identity cube, this task. So this is other one task which actually what does, so there are different kind of functionality. So it helps for all the different functionality to execute. So how, what are the different functionality basically? So these are the option, right? All this option is one functionality here. So if you talk about this one, refresh identity attribute. So this is the exactly same thing we did on the other day. After making entry to the identity mapping, if this attribute was selected, so that was the reason why first name, last name came on that particular day when we did execute this task. Okay, so now there are many more other options, refresh identity entitlements. So if you want to refresh the identity entitlement, so it's basically do all the refreshing. So whatever things are not present as per the current setting. So earlier the setting was not there, but now you have made some configuration change in the system. So as per those changes, how it should reflect in each and every user or group or roles or entitlements. So all the things it will take care of this task. So like this way, refresh, assign, detected role, and promote additional entitlements. Although these terms are new to you, but this gradually you will learn once I'll talk about the roles and entitlement section in future. Provision assignment is also one of the type which we do use, but you will not understand now, but later I'll come back here and I'll explain you one more time when we'll cover those topics. Synchronize attribute is one of the action which we do perform. So these are the important thing. Check active policies related to policy. So once we cover the policy topic, so I'll explain this as well. But this task is very important, this refresh cube task. Everywhere in any of the client, any of the use case, we're gonna come to this task and we're gonna use it very frequently. Then we do have process event. This is also very important. How to do the process event, joiner, leaver, all those things. So although this doesn't make sense to you for now, I think, but later on we'll come here and we'll explain. Okay, but this task is very important. So like I told you, under identity, this is the only task which is important, identity cube. Fluent identity cube is another task which what it does, if any identity which is of no use where there is no account present, so it will just go and delete that identity. So it's basically do the cleanup activity in Sailpoint. Okay, and what is the other important task is perform maintenance. Okay, this is also very important task. The perform maintenance is basically do many different kind of things. It's a maintenance task which basically do the cleanup of the system. So the task result, right, which we were seeing there. So if there's a setting to handle the task results, like if we have task result for more than 30 days, so we'll delete all those entries which are more than 30 days. Okay, and that's where we can do the prune task results. So basically this task we use either for pruning purpose or to launch any certification stage. So that's where we use this task. Or what is the other purpose? Background process. So background process, if some workflow is running, so then it will execute those as well. So workflow, we'll talk about it later. So once we talk about later workflow, you will understand what is the background workflow and what is the foreground workflows. Okay. So this is the main use of this task. Generally, this task keep on running in the system every 5 minutes in as a standard is out of the box. So that's the thing about this task. You can schedule task as well from here. If you click right here and you can see schedule option, right? So click on schedule. You can give any name here, any new name, and then you can schedule it anytime. So you have option to do it daily, weekly, monthly, this way also. And then you have option to execute at any particular time. Okay, so we can do the scheduling also, like we can do it monthly occurrence, daily also we want to schedule at some particular time, so we can do it from here. You can see some tasks are already here which are scheduled, so you can refer these as well. Task result also we have covered. Okay, which you can see here. Let's see if I'm missing anything in task. Yeah, and basically if you want to go to this task definition, like if you want to import some new task or you want to export the task, so basically what is the object actually for this one, you have to come here and in the debug, and you need to just type task definition. Under task definition you can see all those same tasks. Okay, so these are the same kind of tasks which you can see here. And if you want to see scheduling, so you need to type schedule, you will see all the scheduler tasks here. Okay, and you can click on anyone and you see the XML format, and that's where you can make some modification, you can create a new task, you can change in the scheduling, you can put some logic as well. So that's what. And third option is task results. Task results is like occurrence of task history, so you can see that history also here. You can come here and you can do. So I told you, right, debug is very limited kind of access, only system admin can access this page, because from here you can do lots of things, like you can you can go to any object, you can have the view of that object. You have access of system configuration, you have access of UI configuration, and many more important kind of configurations. You can run any rule from here, so run rule is there. You have option to do any deletion of the file as well, like if you select this file and you can delete it from here. Okay, so that's very important. So only system administrators should have access, not anyone else, this page. Okay, so these are the different object which are related to task. Any question on task before I start moving to reports?
The list of tasks that you showed us, these tasks come with uh, uh, identity IQ, so they are predefined tasks, right? Those like
Actually,
or did
yeah.
you build these tasks by yourself?
No, no, these are predefined tasks, but
Okay,
generally, how do we use? We generally, you remember, right? I did create this task as well. So
yeah,
this is the option where from where you can create. So it is like code is already written for all this category. You just come here and just give some name and we gonna use it.
yeah,
So let's
okay,
say we have 10 different application. We want to configure 10 different aggregation job. So we come here and we give that aggregation here. So everything is already built in, so we just need to
okay,
use it here. Yeah.
okay,
And
thanks.
if you want to use some logic as well, like if you want to do completely custom things. So what you can do, you can come here. So there's a one category. So that's a run rule. Okay. So under run rule category, you can create one kind of task as well. So basically, it's not a very difficult thing. It's like you create one task, and based on that task, if you give some name here, it will ask for rule. Okay. So rule is nothing but a logic. So you can write any logic here, right? So these are the out of the box logic which are already present. But when I'll explain you about the rule, you will understand. Basically, this is a custom task, and whatever logic you want to put here, you can put it here, and it will execute anything. Okay, so that's how you can create any custom task as well,
Okay.
as per requirement.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
So
So
when the
yeah,
different
go ahead.
task have the different function, right? You
Right.
have shown under new task, we have seen lot of task was there. So
Yeah.
that's all. Yeah. So this
So
all the
you mean to
different.
yeah, you mean to say from here, or you mean to say from here?
Yeah, that's right. Under the new task.
Under new task. Okay, yeah. So
Yeah.
like I told you, right here there are many options, but I told you what are important things. So account aggregation, account group aggregation, these are important. This is something even I haven't used in 7 years. So this is very limited to some particular uh, scenario, so which are not being used very often. So if you go and try to understand each and everything, so you're not going to use anything anywhere. Okay. So
Okay.
best
Okay.
option is to explore those things which are relevant. Okay. So
Okay.
account aggregation, I told you, account group aggregation is related to group. Nothing is the same kind of aggregation thing. Only thing, it is basically to aggregate the users, and this is basically to aggregate the groups. Okay.
Okay, fine. So
So
based on our activity, we can select the task. So usually,
right.
what my understanding is, these are the things usually we use in common, right?
Yeah.
So
Correct.
we don't worry about rarely used task
Yeah,
concept.
yeah, you don't need to worry about these things. These are we are not going to use anywhere. So one is something this will you will use. Second, you're gonna use this one. So let me tell you which is the third one. So these are not you're going to use anywhere. Okay, identity refresh. This is the one third you're gonna use. Okay, that's important. And then propagate role changes. This is something you can use, but it's very rarely being used. But maybe I'll cover it up when we gonna talk about the roles, because now you're not going to understand anything about role, but I'll explain you in future. And then run rule. This is something to create any custom logic. So you can use it if you want to create any custom logic, then you can use it. System maintenance, I told you, right? This is also another important task which we can do any kind of maintenance work, which do execute every 5 minutes in the system. Right. So just focus on these 4 to 5 tasks. Rest all is not required anywhere.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So coming to next one, which is reports here. So setup under you can access task, but from intelligence, there's a report section. You can access it from here. So a report also works little together with task. Report concept is also kind of similar to task, because task is also you execute, report is also you execute, right? But task is something related to some logic you want to execute. You want to perform something inside the sale point, either from inflow point of view or something from the outflow point of view. But report is something which is you're gonna use to populate the data, right, in the report format. It could be in the PDF format, CSV file. So you want to generate something from sale point, like the user report, access request report, how the system look like, system information, right? So that's where report comes. So under report, you will see similar kind of tabs like uh, this task. So you can see my report, report schedule, jobs, and this report results,
So
four things.
Vinay, for if you take report, we can also support the audit kind of activities by taking this report. Is that right?
Yes, right. Audit thing, yeah. So you can use it for the
Okay.
audit purpose. So I'll explain you one more thing where which also can be used for the audit purpose, but the report is we use very often for the auditing purpose. Like you want to audit, right? How many requests came in your system in last 1 month? So you can pull it out from here.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
Okay, and how many users you have in your system, right? So that also you can pull it out from here. So there's one extra tab which is my report. So we'll start with the report first. So like in task, we were having some out of the box task by default, right? So here we do have the templates. So we have a template for the report. So you can see, and you can, this is a report name, and you can see this description. So whatever you want to pull in the information, so SailPoint already has provided all the different kind of reports, like access request, it could be user data, anything you can pull it out from here. So there are many different reports in this category, which is the first category is access review. Anything related to certification, you can do it from here. I'll execute also, I'll show you. So any account group related to reports, you can do it from here. Activity reports, user activity, how user is logging into system, logout system, so that you can do it from here. Capabilities, basically what kind of capability user to have, administrator level basically. So admin can do what kind of operation, right? So all those reports are
So,
already present.
for user activity, right? So we can check when the user has been logged into the particular system, and that kind of activity we can see that in that
Yes,
report.
yeah, yeah, right. We can see that when somebody log into the system. So maybe let's try to execute this one. Let's see if it goes. So yeah, let me come back here under reports. Uh, this was the one we were talking, right? So if I'll click on this report, it will open one pop-up. So now what will happen? It will ask me to put some name for this report. So let's say user activity, we'll say test. Okay, that's the name I gave. Rest all is standard thing. If you want to send it to some sub person directly, to send mail to that person, this report and all. Okay, that's it. Nothing else is required, so we'll just save it. The other option, I think, additional identity property as well, so we'll go to next one. So for one specific application you want to execute, that also we can do. And target action, there are lots of different, so what are the different, like when somebody delete something, create, so these are different operations, right? Start, stop server, so login, logout, all the different kind of operations are present here. So we'll take standard. I think it will try to cover everything. So we'll save it. So once you save it, this one, it will come under my reports. Okay. So you can say user activity uh, test is here. So it is coming here. So if I right click here and I say execute, you're gonna see this kind of window. So it is executing this report in the background. It will complete in a while. Yeah, but it's actually,
So that the user activity report, I saw some mail directly we can send to the mail you said, right? So is there
yeah.
any connection between Outlook and the SailPoint? How it triggers the mail?
Uh,
And also I saw some options for CSV format, and we can use that also.
Yeah, so you see here, right? Download PDF and download CSV. So you can download it from
Yeah,
here as well. I'll go back. Yeah, I'll answer your questions as well. So right now, this is coming in the PDF format, but you will see there's no record as of now. So why there's no record? Because we haven't enabled the auditing level actually for that. So I'll just give you answer of firstly your question, then I'll get back here. So under report, like you are saying about this one, right? If we come to this report, you are asking about the email recipient. So email
yeah,
recipient, we can give it from here. But SMTP, which you are saying, right? How to configure Outlook and all. I'll show you. Just give
yeah,
me 1 second. Just park that question for a minute. But PDF and CSV, right? So it is like
yeah.
key where you want to send the mail, and the mail should go in the form of PDF or CSV. If you select both, it will
Okay.
send in the both forms. Okay.
Oh,
So that is for the email basically. So now let me come back to your other question about the email thing, right? How the email is going. So under global setting, when I did cover on the very first day, so you remember I went to this identity IQ configuration. So under
yeah,
identity IQ configuration, we have this email setting, how to configure the
yeah,
email. So if it is configured SMTP, it means you are configured to Outlook. So this SMTP
Okay.
server, so you need to give the SMTP host name. So whatever host name is configured, it will go to that Outlook server or your organization related server. Hmm? So that's how it is
Okay.
configured. If you say redirect to email, it will redirect to any specific email only. It is not going to Outlook server.
Okay.
That is redirect to
Okay.
file. Redirect to file is something we use. It is not going to send any email, but it will send all those kind of email format in one single file inside the SailPoint IAQ. This is something we use for the testing purpose. If you want to test something, right? Whether because SMTP server is not ready in dev server or in lower environments, but we want to see whether email is getting triggered or not. So we can store it in a file. Okay, that's we use for the troubleshooting purpose.
Okay.
Okay, so I think we talked about a couple of things, but I was talking about the audit as well. Why that report didn't show anything, right? User access thing. So why it didn't show? Because under global setting we have audit configuration as well. Although we're gonna cover it up in future, so that's why it didn't came. So if you see general action, right? So it is not selected login, logout. Any of the action is not selected. If you select here and then we're gonna execute that thing, then it will start working because now this configuration is not selected. That is the reason. Okay, so we'll execute something else which is already present. So maybe I'll take some other application status. Maybe let's try this because we have two applications, so at least should give some related to application. We'll say app test and I'll just save it. We'll execute. Okay, it has given us this report, these two things, right? So if I download the PDF and I want to see, so it is going to tell us like these are two applications configured in our system, how many number of records we do have, when we did the last aggregation, what is the oldest refresh time, newest refresh, total assignment, unique entitlement. So it will give each and everything. So that's why once you explore all the things, you just keep on doing hands-on on this one, you will understand what each reports are doing, although it's very self-explanatory in terms of description and all. So, but high-level categories, account reports and activity, what kind of activity we are doing, administrative level reports we do have. Uh, Application we talked about, configuration, application detail. This is I think we don't use often. This is important, identity and user reports where account summary we do have, attribute summary we do have, entitlement details we do have, identity status. Yes, all these things are related, important basically, uncorrelated account, user detail reports. So everything is useful. Lifecycle manager reports we do have, and I think role related. Okay, so that's all. And I think we do have access request also. Yeah, access request, right? Access request related item. So all those things are useful. So just when you have access of system, just try to explore these things. This could be useful in your projects as well when you're going to execute some reports. So and the task reports will come, result will come here like we discussed already in the task results as well. So same way report results are also coming in here. Okay, so coming to scheduling, I think it's the same way. Like firstly, you create the report from here. It will come under my report. From my report, you can right click here and you can schedule it. Okay, it's the same way. And I didn't tell you about the deletion as well. Like you can delete this value also. You can delete from here or from the task. There's an option to stop execution as well. Like if any task is running and you want to execute like uh, a report, although yeah, same way report also can take more time. If we have many records, right, it can take for uh, let's say we have executed something and now it is running, so it is running from the last 15 minutes or half an hour and we want to terminate. So once you click here, right click, you will see option terminate, which is not available right now, but don't no need to delete, but you can say terminate, which will come only when something is in progress. It is successful right currently, so that's why it is not giving that option. But when something is in progress, you can right click here and you can do terminate. Okay, and same way we have option in task as well. So other important thing about a report is this, like tasks are present under task definition in XML form, but reports are also present under task definition only. So these are not present under like a report object or something, but this is again the same thing as a task definition. So both reports and task are present as a task definition object. So if we say about this app test, right, which we just created, so we can test this out as well. App test, right, it's present here. So there's nothing like a report. So there's nothing like a report here, right? That's why it is under task definition. This is also very important question. Sometime this question is being asked for interview as well. So what is the object name of a report in a debug page? So answer is task definition, because there's no separate object for report. So like if you click on this one, you can see this is our uh, report. So you can see here object itself is task definition. So other important thing, how do we differentiate between task and reports, right, from the object point of view? So you can see here type is equal to live report. So if type is equal to live report, then it is a report thing. But if it is related to any of the category which we saw here, right, and the task definition, so then it's a different thing. I'll just show you any of the task. So activity aggregation, this is a task, right, aggregation. So see here, type is activity aggregation, so it is an aggregation task. So we just need to understand from the type point of view. But anyway, we are not going to come here directly and then we're gonna actually see it from the UI only, then we're gonna search for any task here. So it is quite easy to find out which thing we are working, whether we are working on task or we are working on report. Okay, so this is the representation of this one. This is another kind of report here, which is also present task definition. And if we see here, this is kind of a report. Okay. And what else is important? Okay, and if you want to create any like custom report as well, so that is also possible. Like, and that is again with the help of XML only. So what you can do, you can create one XML file from here. Like you can use the existing one and you can create a copy of these high level templates, and then the source is the main thing. So under source you can write any logic, like you can see here logic, right, how this is working. So you just need to understand the little uh, APIs as well, what are the objects and APIs, and then you can write a logic and you can create any kind of custom report for you. Okay.
So Vinay, for this to know to do these things, we should know about that the basic language, at least little, right?
Yeah,
As we
Java, right. So this is nothing
yeah.
but a Java language here. Yeah, so to understand this thing and to do any kind of development, you need to know the Java language here. So this is a Java language.
Okay.
Okay, so you can write any logic here. So the logic always come under source. So source tab is the one, and rest all is the standard configuration level things. But any logic will come under the source. So the logic part we can use anywhere, whether it's a task thing, it can be used in the rules. So we'll cover the rules, and then workflow also is very important. So workflow also we're gonna see some kind of logics.
Yeah.
Okay, so this report, let me see anything is pending in report or not. Any question at this point of time? Okay, quickly I'll cover one more thing which is related to report only. So report, advanced analytics is the other one which is related to reports. So like advanced analytics, we have many options. We can pull it out information on the UI itself. So what actually advanced analytics does, whatever filters we gonna use, it will make some SQL queries on the backend, and then it will give us those results. So this is kind of custom thing. Report is something is a template already defined, right? But here we have to have the filters. Like for this particular identity, I want to see how many accounts are present or something like that. We can actually do it from there. Like, there's some issue right